Hello and welcome to the People Do That podcast.
On this podcast, we're going to talk to people that do epic shit with their lives.
These are people that are good at life. We will talk to life coaches, sports broadcasters, fitness experts, Marine special ops, and even someone who became a doctor after the age of 50. Because you know what?
People do that.
People do that?
People do that.
Well, I give you just a little bit, I don't need a lot. Open up your heart, show me what you got. The sugar tastes sweet, coffee in the pot. Now give me just a little bit, just a little bit. Give me just, yeah, now.
All right, guys, here we are. People Do That podcast, and
Number 348.
I think it's 348. We're not taking any callers today.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about our guest. We haven't had a Emmy-nominated guest before, an Emmy-winning guest before, like we have today in Miss Jody Jackson. So we're excited to have her on.
Wait, it wasn't just nominated.
No,
You
award
corrected
winning.
it.
Yeah, I
Award
corrected
winning,
it. I
yes.
corrected
And
it.
not one.
I feel
Six.
like
Six.
I feel like we've seen her on TV for like what?
Ever.
She's amazing, though. My dad, every time we're watching, do you ever watch Jody Jackson? I mean, she knows her stuff. I mean, she's breaking it down,
Yeah.
spin rate.
Yeah.
So I don't know how
Yeah.
we got her to come on the podcast.
Yeah, what did you do? Yeah, what did
I
you-
have no idea. Other than her and I have something in common, which we'll share later. But yeah, we'll get her on in a few minutes. I'm sure she's in the green room having her tea and
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, maybe quick little shoulder massage.
Yeah, we got the guy in there, hair and makeup still going on back in the back.
Audio.
Sings Big League.
Yeah.
Big League.
I didn't know what to. I was
Yeah.
gonna wear a D-backs jersey today just
Yeah.
to like set the mood.
Yeah, Tony's got an NCRT jersey. I was going to throw it on. But then I didn't want to be
NCRT.
But then I didn't want to be fat guy in a little coat during our interview with an Emmy Award winner.
Yeah.
So-
Don't embarrass us. I got a question for you. I presented this to a couple of guys, and this has been a topic I've been thinking about for a while. A little, as kind of an outlet, I like to write a little bit and find interesting stories and stuff. So, the collectibles world, the memorabilia and
yeah.
things, baseball cards and all this stuff. We've all got friends that either enjoyed doing it when they were younger, and then now obviously business, and it's very popular. So at some of these events, though, I'm seeing older gentlemen, and this definitely was at the World Series.
Yeah.
Like Jackson and I were walking around, we're like, counting all the jerseys that these guys were wearing, and the old Diamondbacks, the old jersey, obviously the Randy Johnsons and the Gonzos, and as random as some Rubio Durazos and it was solid.
El Merdesens.
Exactly.
Not a lot of those.
We talked
jerseys.
about Womack last
Yeah.
time, right? So my question is this. All right, at what age, a man, boy, male, whatever, should not ask for the autograph of another man, boy, male that is younger than him unless it is for a child or for charity? Now, obviously, this is the World Series. These are violators.
caveat.
You know where I stand on this one.
Yes.
But the example, I'm 48 years old. I could ask for Joe Montana's autograph, right? But I couldn't ask for Brock Purdy's autograph. So this was on the autograph side.
Never thought about that.
For those that don't know, Joe Montana's probably 60.
Yes.
So you're 48.
48.
So in your
Yeah.
eyes, that's acceptable.
That's acceptable. That's
Brock
like-
Purdy's 23.
23.
You're 48.
Yeah.
You can't stand there and ask for Brock Purdy's
Just
autograph.
feels weird.
Right.
Well,
Entertainer.
Let's ask Kayla. Kayla,
Yeah.
give us a heads
Yeah.
up or a...
No shame.
All
No
right,
shame
so
on the
no
autograph.
shame.
Okay.
All right.
Autograph's checked. So then the jersey is wearing another man's last name on your back.
I will wear a jersey all the time.
Okay. All right. All right.
I
All
love
right.
wearing a jersey.
Yes, you do.
Well, first of all,
Okay,
the
so-
jerseys. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. I love wearing a jersey,
Okay.
to be honest, because I feel like a little kid.
Okay,
In it,
okay.
like I feel like a little kid going a sporting event. Yeah, but my family has told me they have the same weirdness about a man wearing a jersey. So,
So my
rest his
question
soul.
is there an age limit? You guys are obviously telling me
I'm
there's
not there
not.
yet.
Well,
I feel like an autograph to me is the old-fashioned way to say I was close enough to this person where they could sign something for me. Like I was in their presence, and
Yes,
this
that's
autograph
what it is.
proof.
It's
Yeah.
a pre-ussy. It's
Yes.
it's honestly
And
it's
for me, 100%. If I saw somebody that was famous, I would never ask for an autograph anymore because I'm not in that game. But I would definitely ask for a picture.
Okay.
Is that weird?
That's just the
I
new
think
way
it- I
of
think
getting
it's
an
the new way of
autograph.
getting an autograph,
To
yeah.
your
I think
point,
that's okay.
in the 80s,
Yeah.
it was look at what I got. That means I met
was
that
close to
person.
him,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
Now you just pull up your phone and go,
You take a-
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I would definitely take a picture with people. Now, catching a foul ball, catching a home
Okay.
run in batting practice, all of that stuff. I'm looking for kids to give that stuff to.
Yep.
If I'm sitting down
Yeah.
at the stadium in the first or second row during spring training and I'm like taking up a bunch of room and I see kids trying to get out, I'll call, come on, stand right in front of me. Like, and if he comes over, I'll help you get the autograph. It's like, that's like the biggest thing for a kid that day. When I see the guys that are now butting that kid out of the way so that they could get their 28 8x10 signed that day, that they could then go flip in some auction, I have a problem with that.
I think we should get some of those autograph seekers on the show to ask them why.
What are you
they
doing?
What are you doing?
They do it to bands in
Where
LA.
do they live? They're somewhere in a
They
basement.
live somewhere.
Yes,
They're in a basement
They're in their
somewhere.
mom's basement.
They're in a
Yeah.
basement somewhere.
All right. Well, when Jody comes on,
we're
we'll
gonna have
ask
to
her.
ask.
We'll probably ask her some other things, but we'll definitely ask her.
Get her to weigh
men
in on that
wearing
one.
jerseys, men seeking
Age
autograph.
limit on the jerseys.
I want
Brian,
to know
we'll
if
let
people
you-
ask her for her autograph.
Oh, I was going to right when she got here.
Heck
We're definitely
yeah.
getting a picture with her.
There you go. We didn't get one with our previous guest.
No.
But we keep forgetting all
Let's
of
get
that
some
stuff.
autographs.
All right, let's do
get
it.
an autograph.
Okay, guys, we are in the presence of an Arizona sports icon today. If you have ever watched a D-backs game or a Coyotes game, you have seen the amazing Jody Jackson. Jody has been an Arizona sports anchor and reporter for over 20 years and is a 6-time Emmy winner. I'm pretty sure that's our first Emmy winner we've ever had on the podcast. To add to her accolades, Jody was named a 2022 NSMA Sportscaster of the Year in Arizona as voted by her peers. In addition to her role as the host and reporter of the D-backs and Coyotes, Jody works with the Arizona Cardinals and was a sideline reporter for ASU football and basketball for 12 years. All of this helps make her, according to Arizona Republic, the most visible female sportscaster in Arizona history.
Wow.
In addition to all this, Jody has raised her own 2 athletes, Connor, a quarterback, and Caitlin, a softball player, who are stars at me and Brian's alma mater, Corona del Sol.
Go Aztecs.
Aztecs.
My friends, we are sitting with a legend right here. I give you the Mrs. Jody Jackson.
He's really good at it.
Wow. Wow. That
Take
was
that
an
with you.
amazing
Yeah, we'll
intro.
cut that.
I forgot about half of that
Yes.
stuff.
I did take out, I was going to say it's Jody, it's Jackson if you're nasty, but I don't know you well enough for that, so I
I
didn't
get
say
that
that.
sometimes. Yeah, Miss Jackson if you're
Miss
nasty.
Jackson.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What if he would have said that? What would you have said?
I'm trying to remember the song, like maybe start singing the song.
Yeah,
What's funny is my parents, so they told me later, when I was little, like they were going to name me either Jeanette or Janet if it wasn't Jody. So then I would have been Janet Jackson.
Wow.
That would have been.
I know. That would have been a little different, but
JJ.
Well, I mean, I have a guy that works for me named Michael Jackson.
yeah, that's
Really?
a pretty.
Yeah, he had to
anything-
stop going by. He just calls himself MJ when he introduces himself. 'Cause if
MJ.
it's- yeah, 'cause
Now
it's-
he's just
The
MJ.
goat.
yeah, he's just MJ.
helps.
So he's like, I got sick of it.
So,
All right.
I mean, I feel like everybody knows you from the D-backs broadcast. If you watch any D-backs game, and I'm happy to say a lot of people have watched D-backs games this year.
Yes.
People are coming out of the woodwork. But talk about the season. I'm just curious because that's like top of the mind this season this
Yeah,
year.
it was a great season. And, really being on D-backs every day or almost every day kind of changed my career because what other sport are you going to be on almost every day, right? And I think I started doing that in 2012. The network went from like 70 games. Channel 3, I think, used to do the other. But no one remembers this.
Right.
So,
do. Yeah, I do.
being on, it used to be Channel 3 would do some. And back in the day, not all 162 were even on TV. Like I remember like the day games were not even on TV,
Right.
and there was no streaming. So anyway, long story short, it's a blessing and a curse, but a blessing for me. I mean, if people don't enjoy watching me, then. But I
They
mean,
get
for me, it's been a
162.
blessing, right? Because then it's like you do become a little more recognizable. And now that the D-backs have had such a great season, everywhere I go, people do want to talk about it,
Yeah.
and it's really fun. I mean, for the most part, some people still always want to talk about it, even if they're not having a great season.
Yeah.
But it was great. I mean, there were, I think back, and they were in first place for the first few months.
Yep.
Yeah.
And at the point that you're in first place through 2 months, you're kind of like, okay, this isn't a fluke. This is a pretty
Right.
good team.
Yeah.
And, then the Dodgers kind of did their thing and came on, and then the D-backs kind of had their little bit of a rough patch that lasted probably
Yeah.
longer than they thought. And that's where everybody, I think, I mean, I don't ever rule anything out. So I wouldn't have said, look, I was never predicting World Series, but I felt like they were going to make the playoffs. And then I felt like they could, win a wild card. The Brewers matchup was, we could honestly say, yes, more favorable than the Phillies one. But then they faced the Phillies in a 7-game series and won 2 games on the road there. So that was what was really the turning point. I think like everyone in the baseball world was like, wow.
I loved it just because locally, like, we're all baseball guys here. I love baseball. That's my sport. I love all sports, but seeing so many sports fans that just are like Suns fans or Cardinals fans and baseball is boring. Well, it is maybe in your mind, one, the rule changes help, but also like playoff baseball is like nothing else. It's so intense. And people that don't watch a lot of baseball were watching those games just on the edge of their seat. It was pretty cool to see.
Not knowing why they're on the edge of their seat either, because you could feel the electricity. We had 2 friends. We went and watched the game in the backyard. The guys on the set, I don't even know why I'm excited. Matt, he was just like, I don't even watch these guys. This is awesome. Like,
I think,
intense.
and it was tense. Like sometimes I'd be driving home. I'm like, okay, I need to just calm down. Like everything is just like my face wouldn't relax. Like my neck, I'm just a ball of nerves. You're kind of like feeling what these guys are feeling, but that's what people were feeling that aren't even there every day, and that was what was cool about it.
Did you travel? Sorry. Did you travel for the playoffs?
I didn't really get to travel. I went to Milwaukee just kind of on my own again, the network. So this year was really weird. After 23, I don't know where in July, Valley Sports Arizona went out of business. They didn't go out of business right at that moment. They were still kind of like in a holding pattern, and MLB took us over. And so, it was great for the broadcast to continue on. New channel, everything was still there. And in fact, they added some cool stuff near the end of the season to the broadcast, like some cameras, some ump cam and things like that. But yeah, it kind of changed the way, because back when we were the network, a lot of people don't remember too, because we only went to the wild card in 2017 and then even 2011. But, going back to the World Series, we would always do pre and post game shows, even if we didn't have the games. Right. And so that's why I was like, I'm not missing this wild card thing. So I kind of, I was credentialed for that, and I was credentialed the whole way through. I didn't travel. I went to most of the home games. I only got to go to the one World Series game because hockey was starting and kind of like had other commitments going on. And, but yeah, I mean, Philly had to be, that was the one where, of course I'm watching all the people with the team that I've known for so long and so happy for them and celebrating that moment in Philly. And then of course going to Texas. I think they took the whole, organization to Texas, so that was really cool.
Awesome.
So,
Very
Once
cool.
in a lifetime.
Very cool. We were talking about the excitement of the team. Like it started with the actual makeup of the team, right? It wasn't a 3-outcome type of team. It was a lot of speed and defense and pitching and like old school baseball. It was fun. They were a fun team to watch.
And I mean, being so involved in the game and scouting players, it's like, I think that's going to be a trend maybe now because we saw even against the Phillies, and not to say, I mean, I think Nick Castellanos is the one guy you can look at, right? It's very swing and miss. Yeah. But you get Bryce Harper out. They shut down Harper, Schwarber, those guys, and they did their damage earlier in the series. But to shut them down in Game 6 and 7, and then kind of do your thing, which is get back to running the bases. Which I will say this though, and this is what was having me a little concerned. But we all know the playoffs is the small sample, and you have to get to the playoffs. Yes. So I'm all aboard with, and you know what I'm going to say here, I'm sure. It's a great regular season formula. I think it is much harder to run the bases and to steal bases in the playoffs. I think that's clear because, number one, you're facing really good pitching where they're not going to allow as many base runners, so it's that simple. You could run into a Zach Wheeler who's just a guy that doesn't, he's not going to allow too many, in that combo with Real Muto, who was good enough in some areas to shut that down. But I mean, look, it proved a very good formula for, yes, no question, the regular season. Because when you slump and all those 3 true outcomes for those that, like, everyone watching knows that, right? Yeah. Now, probably not, I don't know. But, walk, strikeout, homer. And that's literally like Kyle Schwarber.
That's him to a T.
Right.
Well, he hit 187.
But it doesn't always, in the regular season, that can slump, and you may still be walking, but if you're slumping, they're not going to walk you as much. And so, this is much more sustainable.
I feel like with the rule changes, it changed the game, and I think the D-backs quickly said,
Yes.
we know how to exploit this, and other teams didn't make the changes, and like pitchers forgot how to hold runners, and catchers got used to being on a knee all the time and not worrying about guys stealing. So hopefully, I think teams are going to have to figure it out a little bit more next year.
The Orioles were the same way, right?
Yeah.
They were young and fast,
Right.
and they could manufacture those runs. World Series game. I can't remember a time I've ever been in a ballpark where the crowd went crazy for a sacrifice bunt. Right? They were all in. Like,
Yeah.
they moved the runner.
Yes, we did.
Yes.
I'm with them. I'm a big bunt guy. I'm in the
Chicks
minority.
dig the bunt.
Yeah, I know, isn't that nuts? Yeah, Perdomo
Right?
is
Yes.
kind of the
Yeah.
guy
It
that
was
was
great.
known
But,
for that.
yeah, but fun team.
Yeah.
All right, so that's all the baseball stuff. But
Oh, is that it?
yeah, no.
What do you mean?
No. I mean, that's all about baseball. You're responsible for other sports. Do you have a preference, or are you seasonal? Do you go with the
it's
flow?
like that's like doing, saying my favorite child. Like I can't. No. I
We
think
all
it's-
have that.
I think the one thing is baseball
Yeah.
is, in order to cover it, it's not for everyone. I don't think it's really detailed. It's really it's almost like it's like a soap opera, and you really have to be glued in and dialed in. And it's easy for me because that's how you love it, right? If it's easy for you, and I think that's what I realized early on. And then not to say that it's not hard to cover all the other sports because they all have their challenges, and covering anything well is good. Yeah. So there's a pride in doing that and doing it hopefully well. You're only as good as your last game, which is just like every day. So you get another chance. If you weren't the best on a Wednesday, then you get the next day. But yeah, I mean, and then there's something I've always enjoyed about hockey, a sport that I learned because the Florida Panthers came to town, and I kind of had to learn the radio station where I worked. That was my first job in sports. I had no idea what it was, so I was reading the hockey news and calling people in like Ontario to get some information.
What kind of pressure? Because we're going to get into that topic too. But what kind of pressure was that? Like learning the sport and then having to present it, knowing that all eyes are on you. Like,
And hockey fans are weirdos.
yes,
I'm one of them.
They're drunk, though.
Like, like if you
Hockey
miss,
fans are hockey's really fun in that. I think they're less. Like baseball fans can be snarky. Baseball people can be snarky in general.
We're
Like hockey's more
snobs,
like welcoming.
yeah, we are.
absolutely.
Right? I mean, like, and I'm one of them now. But like when you walk into a room, when you're 22 years old and you're like, But no, hockey's. It's definitely. I don't know, like weird in what way? Why don't you? Explain that?
I mean, I'm from Chicago, and I grew up a big Blackhawks fan. And then you get, it's like America versus Canada, first of all.
Yeah.
And then the Americans have this way of that they think hockey goes, and then Canada goes, this is the only thing that we have on you, so shut up, right? Because we know more than you, and you can't name 5 American hockey players, right? And of course I can. I'm a Blackhawks fan, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, I can do that.
Yeah.
I think it's like they educate themselves to the point where there's way more hockey experts. If you just look at the fan base, true fan base, and you go, here's 100 of them. Okay, in this 100, the Diamondback fans aren't going to know how to hold a runner on. They're not going to know the little intricacies that happen on the field. There's going to be a lot less of those in the 100. If you go 100 real hockey fans, they're, in the IHL when he was down there, he had the same problem. Like, they're that much more educated. Like, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like, once you're hockey, you're hockey. Here's one of the reasons why I know that. I used to work for Enterprise Rent-A-Car for 8 years. They do not advertise for anything professional. They did all of the demographics of the most loyal fan bases that are the most educated in their sport. Bull riding and hockey is where they advertise because of all of their research, and because they're loyal. Hockey fans are loyal, they're dedicated, and they're knowledgeable about their team. They support the brands that support their teams. Enterprise went and did their first deal with the NHL.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bull riding kind of.
Yeah, bull riding.
Yeah, right.
I mean, those guys, you know,
Talk about
if you know
crazy.
one, you know them all. Hayden Udall, we know one.
Yeah.
Who could you name more of, bull riders or hockey
It's about the
players?
same. I said, I know Roenick and Kachuk.
Kachuk?
That's
You know
what I-
Shane Doan.
No, I'm kidding.
What about OEL? You don't know OEL?
I think the
Albert
Coyotes
Ekman
are going to
Larson?
surprise a lot of people this year. I think they're pretty.
Well, they had the
pretty
second
good.
pick, right? They got
had
the Hawks got Bernard, and didn't the
They had. I'm trying to. Okay, now I'm getting my draft screwed up. But Cooley was in 2022, And no, this year it was not. Okay, I hope I'm not. No, I don't think so.
Because the Hawks got Bedard. The Coyotes were very
Yeah, but
hopeful
they ended up picking
to get-
later and getting some players that are in Russia right now.
Oh, so they're not even
So-
here yet.
That's where I would
No,
go.
but I mean, Cooley,
I'd go
like
to Russia.
like Cooley.
I'd go get him from Russia.
And I gotta be
Send
them
honest,
over.
full disclosure, I don't know a lot about those guys or even how to pronounce their name, which is kind of, I need to brush up. Bill Armstrong, I'm sorry if you're watching this, but it's the general manager. But Logan Cooley was just drafted last year, and so he was like a freshman at Minnesota last year, tore it up, and he's already playing, and he's really a good player. So they've had some guys coming in. It's similar to the D-backs in that they have this plan, and it's built through the draft because, you know, we can all agree that's the best way. It's certainly the most financially responsible way, but it's also great because then you get them young and then they are with you. So hopefully that'll be the same.
But
as
can
the
we talk about
Coyotes.
that for a second? Because so I'm a casual observer of the Coyotes. I'm a diehard Blackhawks fan, but they're definitely number 2 for me. The D-backs are number 2. Cubs are number 1. Like, that's where I'm from,
I
right?
hate that about you.
Where were
Yeah,
you
so-
mentally during?
I mean, what do you want
September-
from me?
mentally during September as a Cubs fan?
Well,
'Cause
when
the
this is-
Cubs. I mean, let's not. It
him a
wasn't.
drink.
And
We
people,
took-
people said, I know.
Some time off. We should
I'm
cancel
sorry.
the
I'm
show.
taking you to a dark
Well,
place.
let's put it this way. When you said, I thought they would make the playoffs, the first thing that went through my brain was,
You gave it
if
to-
Suzuki catches the fly ball,
I
you
know.
probably don't make the playoffs.
Well, it wasn't just the D-backs winning the 6 of the 7, but they lost to a bunch of other teams too.
Yeah.
So people had said
Yes.
to me, people said, "Oh, if the D-backs didn't take 6 of 7 from them," which yes was a big deal, but they were also losing all kinds of.
Yeah, they were.
games.
Yeah,
It
at
wasn't
the
just
end,
the
at
D-backs.
the end, they were atrocious.
So
So where was
I'd
my
say I'm
mindset in
sorry,
September? I didn't have a real good September, Jody. If that's what you really
You're
want to
like,
know.
hockey's
Isn't there a
coming,
Green Day
hockey's
song
coming.
about that?
Yeah, well, I mean,
Wake me up when
listen-
September
Bedard,
ends?
Bedard.
Yeah, the
right?
first thing, Connor Bedard to the non-hockey guys
Yeah,
in here.
yeah, no, that's-
Phenom.
Oh, he's
Hockey
phenomenal,
phenom, 18 years old. By the way, in 13 games, he has 9 goals. He's
a lot.
good.
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
he's
good.
yeah. That's good
That's
if you're
good.
wondering.
If my mom
Yeah.
told me that's
Yeah.
good.
So obviously the text thread with the old Chicago guys and everything on there. As soon as Suzuki drops the fly ball, dude, Bedard, 2 weeks. Like it was like it was like in our head, we got to move on or else you're gonna start
We've
to
seen
cry.
it before.
Yeah. And then and then we're like 10 wins, 11 wins, Bears. After 3 weeks, dude, Bedard looks good. Like,
Well, I gotta go. We gotta go back with Jody because I always assumed, like, I pictured you being growing up softball player. I don't know, like swimmer maybe.
Yeah,
just
like,
kind of.
yeah.
But
All the sports.
baton twirler is what got you on the
Baton.
field at University of Miami.
Yes, I know. Very girly
What, do
and
we have
like
video?
sequins
Can we roll the
and
video,
things.
please?
yeah, do we have a video?
There's not a lot of video of this. It's VHS somewhere. You know, my mother did pass it down to me, so I have it somewhere. But yeah, no, I mean, I did that from the time I was a little girl. I did play, like, I played softball in grade school,
Yeah.
and I just wasn't great, you know, nothing special. And then I tried soccer in high school, and I remember getting kicked in the shins, and then, like,
Oh.
another girl got carted off because she landed on her head. Somebody hit her. She tumbled and landed on her head. This is at South Broward High School. I had gone to a Catholic school in the area, but South Broward High is like still pretty well known down there. I'm like, I'm retiring from this. I'm done. They don't care. They don't need me. I'm not good. So, and then, you know, I tried other sports. Oh, tennis. I was pretty good at tennis.
Yeah.
Decent. But yeah, I was always the baton twirling because I think once I liked the whole pageantry of the football and the event and, you know, and growing up, and then, you know, University of Miami is where I ended up going, which, like, my parents couldn't afford that, but I had, like, academic, I had a little bit of academic, I had a couple thousand for the twirling, you know, I was an only
There's
child.
twirling money. There's
Yes.
twirling
A
money
little
to
bit of
go
twirling
around.
money. I remember
my kids.
having
We missed the boat.
to
Yeah.
negotiate with the band director on, like, he said, well, you have to do the dance line, which is fine. I was a dance line
yeah.
twirling is kind of interchangeable. So I'm like, yeah, I'll do whatever you need. And I twirled fire batons and stuff. So I know everyone's always really impressed with that.
At Miami?
Yeah, but you know, you don't do hard
They light them
stuff.
on fire in college?
Yeah, they do it at a bunch of schools.
Get out
If only anybody went to those games at University of Miami
And
in
that
the
was
90s.
back when we were awesome. Yeah, we were awesome.
That'd be amazing.
only.
Yeah, that time.
So it was
and-
really,
Holy
I
cow.
mean, you felt like you were just part of the, you know, as close as I could be as a female to the football team and like what was happening with them. And Jimmy Johnson was so great when I was in grade school. And then, Dennis Erickson took over and he kind of like did okay for a while there. We did okay those first few years. And then, sadly we can't figure out how to get back.
No. Dennis Erickson always seems to do well until the NCAA starts catching up to him. I don't know what happened. It's like a short shelf life.
Until the documentary
JUCO
comes
high.
out, right?
Yes. Yeah.
He was JUCO high. Just go to your local JUCO. There's 3 guys that couldn't get into ASU. Grab them and bring them back.
Well, gosh, ASU's been doing that for a while too.
Yeah, that's quite. But then. So then you go in. How does the career as a broadcaster start?
So I was always just really into sports, I guess, because my parents watched it. And I know a lot of kids. I teach a class at Cronkite, broadcast voice and delivery, and a lot of those kids get into it because they just, I used to watch coaches shows and preview shows and hype, growing up, and I'm like, I kind of want to do that. I want to talk about sports and I want to be part of that stuff. And
cool. Yeah. What brought you to Arizona then?
So my journey was I graduated from with a broadcast journalism degree, and I got out of school that summer, and I kind of didn't find a job right away, but I was cold calling different places, including the sports radio station, kind of like the 98.7 of out here was this WQAM in the Miami-Fort Lauderdale area, and they hired me, and I just it took off from there. They hired a couple of college kids, and I got a chance to do, I was mainly board opping, so I was just running the board and stuff, but then I got to cover a bunch of the teams, including the Marlins, who won the World Series in 97, which I left right before they won it. I went to Buffalo, New York. I got a TV job. So, I would be out and about, and everyone's like, don't you want to do TV? We'll help you put together, a tape and stuff. And so I finally did that.
How many women were around doing what you were doing then?
Not too many. I know Tori. So Tori, funny thing is, he was actually playing in Buffalo when I got to Buffalo.
Oh, really?
Wow. So he always says to me, "You're a pioneer." And I'm like, what's funny is I was the first female reporter at that CBS station. But then after I was hired, and I guess it tells you, like we always say, copycat league. Well, I guess copycat in any walk of life. Because then the other 2 stations, I was at CBS, so the ABC and the NBC hired a female reporter,
like within
the
Jody Jackson in our state.
It was Kathy Gerhardt got hired, and then oh my gosh, her first name was Carrie, and I can see her right now. But yeah, it was so. I guess it's kind of cool. I guess I sort of just by nature of them hiring me, more credit to them. I guess hiring me is that it opened some other doors for women. Because it was always the sports director and the sort of next in line were men, and then we were kind of that third reporter in, and which was an entry level, which was perfect for me.
Did you have to deal with a bunch of bullshit?
Yeah, that's being a woman.
I don't have the horror stories, and I'm really thankful. I did not too bad. I mean, I really worked with at that station the great Van Miller, who is any Buffalo Bills fans watching. He retired shortly after I got there, but he was like the voice of the Bills for many years.
Wide right.
And he was always he was
Isn't that the Bills?
Yeah, 4 in a row they lost.
Right?
Yeah. He was Thurman Thomas and the whole thing. I wasn't there for all that. Actually, Marv Levy retired right before I got there.
Really?
And it was like they were trying to. If I named the quarterbacks, then you wouldn't even know who.
Let's try it. Go ahead.
Todd Collins, Rob Johnson. Then they tried
Rob
Doug
Johnson,
Flutie.
University of Florida. Todd,
They tried
Michigan.
Good, very good.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Gosh, he's going to quiz me on Bears trivia now. Bears.
Our savant, our local savant.
Very
They let
good,
me out of my cage every once in a while.
Rob
Definitely a lot
Johnson
of
go to
eights.
Florida?
I think, was that
he did.
Brad Johnson? Brad
you're
Johnson
right,
was
somewhere.
Florida.
But it was kind of a transition. And
So
then they
from-
tried Doug Flutie, like we need a Hail Mary here. Where's Doug Flutie? Let's
And
try
you
him
loved
out.
the snow, you loved the weather in Buffalo, and decided, you know what, maybe, just
coming
maybe.
from Florida, going to Buffalo.
I loved my time there, but it was 2.5 years, and then I got. Oh my gosh, I didn't even answer your question. Let's go back to the question. How did I get out here? Yeah. So then I worked in Buffalo for 2.5 years, where the Sabres went to the Stanley Cup, but got screwed by the Dallas Stars and Brett Hull scoring in the crease.
The Golden Brett.
I'm still mad about it. I know you remember that. I'm still a little bitter. I felt that pain. I didn't feel the Super Bowl pain. I wasn't there for that. But so then they changed the rule after that. But then I left shortly after that and then came to Arizona. So Fox Sports regional networks were kind of blossoming, and I had Atlanta, Denver, Phoenix. Those were kind of my options. So I don't know, Atlanta's close to my home in Florida, but
Right.
it's not really that close. And then Denver, I was like, I'm not going anywhere where it's snowing.
You had,
So it
had
was
your feelings.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
That's kind of how that's kind
Yeah.
of what the decision was.
We met. You said when I looked familiar when you walked in.
yes, immediately.
Yeah. We met one time in passing. Your friend Kate Longworth.
Yes.
And I worked together at the Arizona Fall League in 2001.
Okay.
And that was our first passing. And then like, oh yeah, this is our friend Jody. I'm like, cool. And now she's on TV. There's Jody there. There's Jody there. There's Jody there. Jody here.
And then Kate
Yeah.
came and joined me.
Yes,
for a
she's done a
while,
great
came
job,
back.
right?
Yes,
she does a
she's
wonderful
awesome.
job.
Is that when you
Yeah.
had me in the booth?
When I had you in the booth in 2001, I was the operations manager for the Mesa Solar Sox, and I brought him in to do the voice,
PA.
the voice of the
Yeah.
Solar Sox.
Yeah,
That's
voice of the
awesome.
Solar.
Chris
Yeah.
Chris Crone was our manager.
Okay.
Whose boys end up going
Yeah.
on
Nick,
to
your career could have
play
gone
in the
a
big
totally
leagues.
different
But
way.
yeah,
Listen,
how about
if
that?
there- if
that was
anyone
my
would've-
first job in baseball. But
was
but
it?
yeah, but we. Hey, there's
Okay,
the
yeah.
girl from Buffalo's is now on TV.
Like I know
right?
I've talked to you before and met you before,
Yep,
but I couldn't
yep.
like put it all together.
Isn't that funny?
And so is that how you got this
how
podcast
this-
gig? Where you're like on my resume,
Yeah,
I have
he
Mason.
did.
It was like they heard my voice, and then I knew a little bit about sport.
If only we could capture it. Dave Burns, tell us how to talk in
Yeah,
this thing.
talking to the mic, Nick.
Right in there, Nick.
Yeah, he's got a great voice. Yeah.
Isn't that great?
I was all prepped for like questions of a female coming up in a male-dominated industry, and
Right.
I was waiting for the stories. And
She
I'm waiting for
dismissed you quickly
The
with
Veronica
that. Well,
Corningstone. of, like,
Yeah, I mean, just being treated. You know, how many times do you walk in
Diversity.
and feel like? I guess when I was coming in and early on with the Marlins, you know, I went out and the teams that I was first covering, right? So you're walking into those rooms and you're asking questions, and it was the Marlins and the Dolphins, and then a little bit of college sports, but like I guess there was a feeling of I'm sure people were like, what does she know? What is she doing? You know, what is going on?
you never work in like get her out of here. Like get
Thankfully, no.
Yeah, like,
I
mean,
think it was a fairly
leadership.
progressive. I think also Miami, you know, being kind of progressive. a little bit.
The organizations and the franchises you're talking about, like Miami. Dave Dombrowski was the
Yes,
general manager,
Dave
right?
was there,
His
yeah.
wife, Carrie, was one of the
Ross, yeah.
first announcers on ESPN, so
Yeah.
he knew.
By the way, how great is Dave Dombrowski? Like
awesome.
he's still winning.
Awesome.
You
right?
know, I know that, you know, the D-back, that's what really
Yeah.
tells you another feather in the cap beating the Dombrowski Phillies. Of course, they went to the World Series last year. But yeah, he was the GM of the Marlins,
Right.
and he's had so much success. Super nice guy. Carrie, I didn't know her really well, but at the time I wanted her job, right?
Right,
She was
right.
on the local station.
Yep.
And then I'm out of college. I'm like, how do I get that job? You know?
But that's what it takes, right? And it takes, in a male-dominated world, though, it takes somebody, the visionary, to present that, right? Because my sister ended up started working in baseball, and it was the same thing. Like, she went into an area that was all males, and then her,
Yeah.
and so, but she knew enough about it, and she wanted to learn more, and
Right.
that she knew that she could do that. And
I
so,
think you have to. So again, there's been overt things I've heard from other women through the years where it was like someone says, like literally says something to them that's crass, or you know,
or like what happened to Aaron Andrews, right?
Yeah, well,
Right.
that was weird, right? You know, the hotel thing.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I still don't really that was
and
kind of
then was like that
isolated.
guy was like stalk, like
Yeah,
wherever
I mean,
she was like doing
that's
broadcasts.
a little different than like, you know, in
Yeah,
the
yeah,
locker
yeah,
room.
yeah.
But you do hear some stories of a guy will, like this is a story that I had heard from someone is that she was covering a team and she felt like the player, you know, he was like purposely when he was dressing, you know, purposely being for, you know, right in front of her and stuff and like
yeah.
weird. But you know, you also. I mean, and that wasn't her fault by any means,
yeah.
but I mean, you know, again, you have to be aware. You have to kind of like, I mean, not put yourself in situations that are strange, which is like, again, she didn't do that. But yeah, there's some bad people out there,
I
you
feel
know,
like
but
one thing that I think you've earned the trust, and I know it was in your bio too, but you earn the trust of the viewers because you are so knowledgeable. I was telling these guys, like my dad was just
thanks.
talking about you the other day, and he's like, oh, you know, you watch Jody Jackson before the games, right? Like, you know, she knows everything. She's breaking down spin rate and this and that. And so I feel like as a woman, there's guys that don't know their stuff, men that don't know their stuff, and they just do it because they had a career or whatever. But as a woman on the air, you have to be dialed in every night because it's probably people are maybe looking to criticize a little. And for you to have lasted over 20 years doing it, it just is a credit to your knowledge of sports and the industry.
I think if you can get past that starting point, because again, when I was in Miami, I remember one of the male anchors who was kind of in news. He was an example of kind of like in news, but he would be out at Dolphins camp. And he'd come up to me and he'd say like, you ask really good questions, you know, and I was like, well, thank you. I'm trying to do that because I'm new here and no one knows what I know. And I want to, you know, and I think there's not a negative connotation to that. When I tell people, you know, you do have to prove yourself, and that's whether you're male or female. Like, you shouldn't just walk into a press conference or a clubhouse and feel like, you know, I've arrived, or, you know, I'm awesome at this. You know, it's like, it takes time to, and you do have to prove. I mean, again, I think it's a little different now than it was then. I definitely felt like I had to prove that I knew the game and I knew what was going on. Like you mentioned your sister, you said. So it's like, again, in the beginning, because there are some people that just want to be on TV, or they just want to hear themselves, or, you know, and you kind of like, you're not going to last that way, because you have to love it to be there and be dialed in. And I'm sure she was the same way. And I've met through the years many women who, and if it's so inconceivable to certain people, it's really not, because, for example, one of my friends, Jenny Kavner, you know, her dad was a coach and she played. And, you know, I mean, just because I didn't play softball or baseball doesn't mean that I don't care about it. I mean, it's just, I've studied these sports for like a really long time, and then you get to know people within the game, and you really admire, like, to me, it's all a metaphor for life also. Like the grind, people always say the grind, and actually I had Chris Garagiola on in my class yesterday, which was very nice of Chris to answer the phone after. They're all exhausted. Everyone that did those games are still exhausted, I think, but very nice of him to actually text me back and be like, you know, and he kind of mentioned, and I like the young perspective, because I'm kind of out of it. Like, I'm way ahead of him in that progression, as far as knowing what the students are feeling. And he was like, he had great advice. Like, you know, you walk around and you think everyone's got it figured out. And he goes, in life, no, they don't. Like, the people you see that you're admiring and you want to be, it's like, they don't have it figured out. They're just taking it day by day. So Chris, I'm stealing your advice there, but
that's great advice.
And it's just, you know, the grind. He also said something about, you know, people toss around the idea of the grind, and, you know, to me, it is a bigger grind in baseball, because you have to show up every day. And it doesn't matter what craziness is going on in your life. And we see people, we don't even know what's going on half the time. And you show up. But every sport has its own version of that grind. In football, a lot of times it's the physical grind, because you might be really hurt and you're still trying to play or whatever it is. But I admire that, and I find it amazing. And so combine that with my love of sport, you know, it's just a natural thing for me.
Athletes will always tell you, like, getting there, like, especially big leaguers, right? The journey to get there is one thing, and then staying there, which you've done that, and your staying power is a testament to how well you've done. Right? Exactly. Hey,
nice
if
wood
it ended today, you've
table.
Pretty darn good resume right there. It's a pretty good run.
That, because I know I'll let you say it, but you're probably going to say you wouldn't want any other job. You're doing the job of your dreams, which might be true. But do you aspire, is there a job that you aspire to do, maybe a national type thing, or ESPN, or anything like that?
That's a good question. And I do get that sometimes, because when you do something for a long time, I think there's a natural, like, gosh, what should I, and people will even say, like, oh, how long have you been here now? And you're like, should I be somewhere else? Like, what? You go, there's kind of like a paranoia that sets in. And then you see people that have been around like 30 years. And I'm like, well, you know, no, it's okay. It's okay to like what you do and just do it. I would say, I mean, there's some intrigue to a couple of things. Like, I would say there's part of me that would like to maybe do a little more play-by-play, whether it's like I did some high school football a few years back, and maybe see if that's something that I liked and could do. I think it's extremely hard to do that. You know, it's can be, you know, there's a lot. I do my own preparation when I go into a game. I think there's a different level of prep for that. And I mean, there's just a lot of things. I have a lot of little side jobs, and I think that's because I'm interested in a lot of different things. Not only sport, you know, so I do stuff with the Cardinals, which feeds my football need, because I feel like that was kind of where I started, was in the football world, and I feel like I still need to have that in my life. And then the teaching aspect is really fun. But, you know, ESPN and things like that, I think what's cool for me is I do get a little bit of a national platform on, like, MLB Network will have me on at times. And, you know, I think for me it's more about, it's not really so much a network, but I do like kind of being a trusted voice when you say, okay, she's covered baseball for such and such amount of time and she's dialed in on the D-backs. There's a lot of pride for me in that. So I just enjoy being a person that can talk about the D-backs and people can be a go-to. I like the local side of that. And actually, Sierra Santos said that years ago, and she was one of our, there's a long list now of people that I had as interns at Fox that are now on TV. It's Amanda Pflugrad, who's the new Suns reporter, Sierra Santos, who's now on MLB Network and doing really well in New York. And Sierra said when she was working in Chicago, she was, as she made her way, she was covering, I think she was at the local station, but she did a lot of White Sox. And she said one time in a post, I remember, all I ever wanted to do was work for the regional sports network in the city, you know, and Phoenix is kind of her home. But and I thought, you know, to say that out, because everyone's always aspiring for that other thing or national and it is cool though. It is. I don't really envy sometimes broadcasters, and I do think that it's amazing what they do, going from place to place and doing all the national games. But to be so dialed in on your team and be kind of part of seeing guys like our D-backs team, the way these young kids progressed and how you're watching them grow and kind of like literally from a kid, you know, that's pretty cool. And you don't get to do that if you're, you know, just doing network stuff, which I believe truly is harder. Because then you have to do the research and meet people on the fly and kind of go, you know, rather than every day being around it.
A lot of those, you know, the broadcaster, like they have to know all the details about all those two teams that they're playing. And then the next week they go to another game and they need to know everything about them. But I do like about the hometown feel is, like you said, it's kind of like a soap opera, but it's really like a reality show, a 162-day reality show of like watching over the course of the season.
And it's entertaining,
It is.
Which reality shows I feel like have to fake the entertainment. Like this is real entertainment.
It just comes natural.
Do you get to, do you end up having a relationship with some of the players, like getting to know them and like what makes them tick and their family and things?
Like I mean, one that stands out is like Merrill Kelly, you know, I got to interview his wife the night of his debut, and she was just so sweet and so happy. Like he had been in Korea, you know, and they have a cute story, just the whole local angle of they met at ASU. And now they have a little baby, Hadley. She's a toddler now, I guess. But and then I did a story on his whole family and kind of like, it was called D-backs Family, and met his mom and his dad. And I didn't meet his brother, but they talked about his brother and stuff. And so, and now when I mean, actually doing all that, you know, I'd find myself talking more about personal stuff with his family members. But now when now the last couple of years with Merrill, it's like, how you doing? He's doing some, I think they're building a house. I'm not sure if it's more than just remodeling. And so I'm like, how's the house coming? And, you know, just things like that.
And they're friends. I mean,
There's
each other at work.
I would like if you said travel, you know, do Sunday night baseball every week in a different city, right? And just constantly be in different hotels and great restaurants and great hotels and great games and national coverage. That sounds cool. But also just like you said, watching a 22-year-old, 23-year-old kid then be 33 and married and 3 kids and just watch their evolution, watch when they're down and when they're up and when they're hot and when they're not. And like do you feel like you are part of like the DNA of what's going on? Like, do you feel like when the momentum's going one way or the other with players, like, do you feel it?
Yeah, I think it's only natural to know, like when you know them pretty well, you see what's going on with them and like where they might be.
Like when they're in a slump,
and then
like
they get traded.
And
then
they're gone.
Or free agency.
And then they're gone and you're sad.
Like, Goldie, where'd you go?
You see when
Why'd
guys,
you leave?
you know, and sometimes people wonder, oh, so-and-so, wasn't he great? You know, I'm thinking like years ago and like, oh, you know, you might see some stuff behind the scenes like, well, you know, he wasn't, you know, he was having trouble, you know, acclimating to that clubhouse, or he wasn't really fitting in, or, you know, and you don't necessarily like say some of that stuff on the air, but if you see it, then you kind of understand, well, okay, maybe that's why, you know, he needed it, or maybe if he was traded, maybe he wanted to go closer to home or wherever. So
how about the guys you work with on a nightly basis. Specifically, you said slump, so I thought of Mark Grace. Gracie right away.
Schulte, the ending his career. Greg. Oh,
They'll do a little radio, maybe a little radio next year or
Yeah.
something.
I think they're set. Actually, I don't even know what's going on. Chris
Yeah.
will take that over,
Okay.
and then
Yeah.
he's done awesome. He got thrown in last year as like a 29 or 30-year-old, but yeah, Gracie is unbelievable, and I'm sure you guys can guess that.
My
But I'll
favorite
tell
player
you,
growing up.
Was it? Yeah. I mean, his personality is just. He's always got something interesting to say, and he's always. He doesn't have a lot of filter. He's like what he's feeling is what you get, which is great TV most of the time. But if he's not,
My goal, I
But-
want to see like a network like HBO start broadcasting games and let Mark Grace do the games, but he doesn't have to be filtered, and he can
Yeah.
say whatever.
And he has
He's on-
6 Miller Lights.
he's
Yes.
on HBO.
We'll
the
feed him
Max
the Miller
version.
Lights with an Uber home, and then. But he's just, that guy just is like as real and down to earth,
Yeah.
and his stories.
Wait, pose that as a question. Is he that real and down to earth?
Yeah, he really
because I
is.
grew up
Oh, yeah.
watching this guy. He had
He
the
really
most.
is. And when we walk out to the, we don't walk out to the set anymore. When you walk anywhere with him in the stadium, and he'll stop for the pictures and sometimes there are people that kind of take advantage of the signing things, and he kind of, so he'll be like one to a, one per week or something. I don't know, but he just really accommodates people that just want to show him love, and he'll do that. But the other thing about him is during the COVID season, so the 2020 season was short and weird and all that, but we got through that. But then it was the next year where we didn't travel, and he honestly kept us all going, because he ended up doing of the 161 or whatever we had on our air, he ended up doing 130 games or 35 even maybe, and they were all we were in the stadium every day, even when they were on the road. And we had limited access to the players, so it was I remember Nick Ahmed would be on a Zoom, or somebody would be on a Zoom, and was like, okay, how much of this can we even air on the pregame that is going to be engaging, because and no offense to Nick, but it's on a Zoom, it's not one-on-one, it's not something like during the season we go out and do a lot of stuff with the players. We usually do some features at their house or with their kids or whatever, and we had none of that. And honestly, I call that the year of grace. It's just he just carried every show, because how do you make 30 minutes interesting when you really have limited, and I'm burying the lead, they lost 110 games.
That's hard
So
to talk about.
I had to
day
think.
in
I
and
was
day
like, oh
out.
my god, yeah, that's what it was. So.
Yeah, I love that.
But
still have my
he
fond
just still
memories.
made it so fun. We had so much fun. Him and I carry our fast food in every day, and people are just like, oh my god, you guys are terrible.
I still picture my Diamondbacks. It's Bob Brenly and Brenneman doing the Professor and Brenneman just doing the boy oh boys, and then
How many
She brought up
times?
signing
boy.
autographs, so should we ask her about
Yeah.
what we were
Oh, yeah.
talking
Yeah.
about in the intro?
Yeah.
Before you came in, Brian had posed a question. I'll let you ask Jody.
So it was two-part. It's one about autographs and one about jerseys. Is there an age limit for a man to wear a jersey, or should there be? And the other one is about the autographs. I propose that as a 48-year-old, I am not allowed to ask for anybody's autograph that's younger than me, but I can ask for those that are older. I can ask Joe Montana, but I can't
Gracie
ask
would be in
for
that category,
right.
yeah,
Oh yeah, I can get
course.
Gracie's. Yeah, but I can't ask for Brock Purdy's. And so, we started talking about the industry and about that memorabilia industry, and I'm sure those guys, they just get hounded. And then, is there an appropriate time to ask?
I like to ask them while they're eating dinner with their family.
Yeah.
Yes,
So
that's
let's.
usually-
That's a tough one. That takes you.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the
Heck
third
no.
part of it is, do you, when you're recognizable in the Valley, do you get asked for autographs or for an Ussie? And
Not randomly, but at the games
games.
sometimes. And
Okay.
I'll always be like, I'm always like, do you sure you want me to sign it? They'll have a ball that has someone's name, somebody else on it, like a Tel Marte. I'm like, are you sure you want me to ruin this ball with my
Randy Johnson,
But I
Luis
know,
Gonzalez.
I don't
Jody Jackson.
But it's kids, and they just yeah, we want. I'm like, okay, yeah.
They'll be
Yeah.
looking at it later. I think it's Reggie Jackson.
Reggie Jackson,
It's Reggie Jackson. So break it down.
Shoeless Joe.
Grown men wearing other men's jerseys.
Is
See,
there an
I
age
don't-
limit?
I think
The
it's
way when you
okay.
say it like that, I mean, He set me up.
She was
He
saying
set me up.
Is it
I
you?
wear my
Is it-
Bears
I think it's
jersey every
okay.
Sunday, and he knew what he was
I
doing,
think
and he
it's
set my
okay. Plus,
ass
don't
up.
you get the discount at the grocery store if you wear your jersey or something?
What?
Hey, now.
What grocery store do you go to?
I forget which one in town.
Team store.
I thought if you wear, you get 10% or something on
like
the
that.
Cardinals jersey.
You're missing out.
I have Cardinals. I have Cardinals.
on
I think
Williamsfield.
I don't know. Am I weird? I think that's okay. I think you can
No.
be nice.
No,
I
let's
think you
go.
can take
Me
it
and you are the
Yeah,
same.
I-
Let's
I
go.
think-
weird one.
I think, oh, it's your
Well,
personal.
yeah, I'm
and I
walking
think
around
you
the World
can ask
Series.
For Brock Purdy's autograph. It's okay. Love
I
Brock
don't need it.
Purdy.
Yeah, what
I'd
about
rather
the
ask him
autographs? What about the autographs?
I need a Brock Purdy. I want to ask him about how he played with Brennan and Gage Workman in junior high.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah, Perry. Yeah.
You're good on the autographs
I
too,
think
then.
it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I'm the
I
weird
could
one.
see why the
No rules.
professional
No rules.
athletes do tire of the autographs when it's for the people that
Yeah.
are just getting them for a profit.
Well, that's
Like,
the
give
thing.
me
I
a
mean, there are
9-year-old,
some.
I'll sign his
Yeah,
card all day, but
and
when it's the
there's clearly some people, and again, I actually haven't thought too hard about this. I just kind of I'm walking, I'm doing my thing, and there's people, but I think and Mark Grace has never really said this to me and explained it all, but I definitely have sensed over the years there's like some people that are there that probably are
Yes.
profiting, and he'll still do it, but like not every day and
he's
stuff.
not going to
and
sign their 27.
I think it's
8x10s.
just I don't know if I should
other
be saying
ones-
that or not.
yeah.
But
The other ones we're in the world of this, right?
don't-
Like,
I think that's
there's
the
Jody
way-
Jackson. There's Jody Jackson. Oh,
They're
she's just
taking
about
a
Selfie.
Yeah, she's just about to
Tell me, I'll take a picture.
right?
Yeah.
She's watching her kids, and she doesn't. Yeah, she's got a hat
I'm
on.
not like-
it's on
yeah,
a Sunday
I
morning, right?
I don't think I'm like that big a
No,
celebrity, you know,
because that's
so.
that's another time I introduced myself to, because playing softball. My daughter plays softball. Old
Yeah.
McQueen, just hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was that like in the last year or so?
Recently, a couple
Okay,
years, yeah, because she's a year older than.
Okay.
But that
Let's
kind of
talk-
brings me. I mean,
I know, we gotta
many
talk about
nights
that,
as
too.
you
Yeah.
work and you're on the air, I flip my TV on and you're on. How do you do work-life balance?
Yeah.
With 2 kids.
My husband's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
Ah, there you go.
I mean, it is hard at times because, especially when they were little, like there's a lot of emotion there, and I don't think they were feeling it as much as I. Although when they were really little, when I started traveling with the D-backs, they were 3 and 5, and I remember when I get home from these trips. Kids have that reaction of like when they're in the car and they want something, and like they would go, "Daddy," they would like go, "Daddy," and I'm like, "I'm back." I know it's hard. That was like the hardest thing, and I'm like,
Yes.
"It's mommy."
Yeah.
Yes,
What do,
I'm here.
Mommy's
what do
here.
they What do they think
I
about
can
you?
buy you a donut too.
What do they think about you being on air and being?
That's
Famous.
interesting because I think they just see it as like really normal,
Whatever.
and
Yeah.
which is how it should be. Really, it's fine, and they don't like watch me all the time. They're not like at home when it's your, your mom. It's just like your
Yeah.
mom, I
Yeah.
guess. So
But your son, over the last couple of years, he's gone from being Jody Jackson's son, and now you are Connor Ackerley's mom.
Yeah.
He has been an amazing quarterback.
much
at
more
Corona
fun
del
now.
Sol. Yeah.
yeah, and he does interviews and stuff a lot too, which is cool for me. I'm like, oh, good job, He does. He
You don't
seems
coach him
very-
up beforehand?
No, he's pretty good, and he
is
wants
good.
to do this. So
Really?
yeah, he wants to. He did a radio show over the summer, or like a YouTube show, Varsity Sports Show, and I thought he was really good.
That's
I mean, he knows his stuff. He's just got to, he's 17, so
Yeah.
it's polishing it up a little, like but the heart of what he could sit here. He would love this. Like talking sports is so easy if you are into it, right?
Yeah.
And it's so much fun. So I think he sees that as probably, and will, so hopefully he gets to do whatever he wants to do in this business or, whatever else.
I imagine.
he can.
Is he going to get to play football in college?
He would like to. He has an offer from Western New Mexico, which we just visited, and it was fun. The coaches there are great, and it's always nice to meet the people that will be like. That's hard when you're like thinking. Even though that's
Bending
only
over.
4.5 hours,
Yeah.
but oh, you're in charge of him now. Like
Yes.
that's
Oh.
hard, Or
Yeah.
he's in charge of himself, which
Yeah.
I mean, which is really the reality, right? No one's
Right.
really in charge of you once you go to college. You're on your own, and you just gotta. But yeah,
But it
I
is
mean,
nice when you have sports and you have a coach and like you can there's rules and you have
Yeah.
team rules and it kind of reins it in for you a little bit.
yeah, and he had some interest from Cornell as well, and I don't really know where that stands, but I know it's hard to get into Cornell, and
grades.
he's
Hey.
got good grades, he's got good
Grades.
test scores, so
Good.
But
But I mean, I believe I haven't checked. I think the Corona del Sol is the #1 rated educational
Everything.
school
Yeah.
in Arizona.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
know exactly.
Yeah.
I haven't
I
checked
think it's up there,
It's
but
over.
if you
Fact
guys
check
say
us
it's
on that,
number
Kayla.
one.
Let me look real quick.
Basha?
No,
Yeah.
no.
It's not Basha.
I did
Not
know
sure.
years ago because when I was covering high school, like when I came to town for Fox, we used to do high school football. I used to do a lot of different things, including the Mercury and Rattlers. As I'm referencing
Calvin
Dave.
Scheckschneider?
I'm referencing the Dave Burns
Yes,
podcast,
the
which
Dave
I
Burns
enjoyed
podcast.
listening to.
Burnsy.
But yes, I used to do all that, and but yeah, I remember hearing years ago. Yeah, Corona. Chaparral and Hamilton are all sorry Hamilton. I mean, that's a thing, but
It happens.
Hamilton is also up there. So I don't know who's like number one, but I know the classes, like the AP classes at Corona, are really tough.
Yeah. We had a great
So-
experience at Corona. It was very.
Well, I lived all the
legendary.
way in Ahwatukee and drove all the way to Corona because
Yeah?
there was dating myself. There was nothing in Ahwatukee at that time, so
Wow.
the enrollment, the boundary line was huge.
that was
There was a
pre-Mountain
massive
Point.
school back
Yeah.
then. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about more family dynamics. Who's the
Yes.
most knowledgeable football fan in the family? Because that Ackerley name sounds a little familiar.
Yeah.
Well,
There might have
my
been a little-
husband played at ASU.
little bit of football. There we
went to
go.
ASU. He was the center there, and I mean, then like knowledgeable. So I'm the one that actually now with Twitter and everything, we all sort of pay attention. Not so much Caitlin.
Yeah.
She's a sophomore and she's
Right.
not really
Yeah.
like on like looking at all this stuff, but. Like Chad and Connor and I, we'll always be like marveling, like, did you see this? And it's, whatever
Yeah.
it is, it's ESPN or it's Barstool or it's MLB or it's whatever, happened that day. And so we're all kind of like sports nerds, I guess.
Because we're talking ASU days, like with your boy Minifield and
Yeah.
Wallerstead, and,
Yes.
and
Oh,
that.
he played with Kevin.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Chad
right.
and Brett are still really good friends. The
Awesome.
Wallersteads are
Okay.
awesome family
They're good.
friends, and they have come to a lot of Connors games over the
Good.
years.
They had some good
They
athletes
they
too.
drove
Yeah.
down to Tucson the other night for
Oh,
our
really?
playoff
Right
game.
on.
Yeah, and so I've really looked up to them as parents, like Kelly. And Brett too, but Kelly would always say things like random things that stick in my head. She's like, I always put a salad out, like, and whether so now I always put a salad out. No one eats it, but there's
Yeah.
always a
At least
salad.
you feel good about yourself.
You mean when you cook dinner, you always put a salad
Or
out?
like sometimes it's a vegetable, but I'm truly sure she put out a salad every time. And I think Nick and Logan, her kids, actually ate it.
Would eat it.
But I'm trying to force
Put
my
it
kids
out
to
there
eat the
enough,
salad.
maybe they'll eat it.
Well, I've been putting it out for 10 years. It's not going great, but Chad and I eat it, and Caitlin eats it a little bit. But stuff like that, like silly things. But you're like, and then Nick was a quarterback, and then Nick got a scholarship to pitch at ASU, and now he's at Long Beach State, and so they have been through all the, and Logan's doing great. Logan ended up going to U of A, and she's got a job in Southern California, and so you just kind of. As my kids were looking up to their kids, it was the cutest thing. Like that, Caitlin and Connor would look up to Nick and Logan, and like I would look up to Kelly and Brett, and like what parenting, so that was kind of cool. Especially like watching, when she used to watch Nick play. He was at Corona and then went to Mountain Point. He transferred over to Mountain Point,
that's right.
and then was under Coach Matt. Why am I blanking on the baseball coach's
Denny.
name?
Matt Denny.
Matt Denny, great coach that helped him elevate himself as a pitcher in high school. But like we'd go to those Mountain Point games and I would see the stress and the tension there. I'm like, I wouldn't understand it. And now like, I mean, I guess I'm too vocal to look stressed because I'll be, especially when on offense, I'm a little more like taking it all in.
Yeah.
But like when the defense is out there, I'm just cheering for them. I'm really loud, which is really bad for my voice. I've kind of like you show up for work the next day, like, okay, wait, maybe I should stop
that's
yelling
your
because I
work
have
tool.
a job. But like there's a lot of that as a parent, like seeing, and
Yeah.
I'm sure softball.
Softball's similar.
What position does your daughter play?
She's an outfielder, plays a little bit of third base. Yeah.
So I
Which is-
mean,
What
that's
is Caitlin?
enough when you
Caitlin's a pitcher, you said?
Yeah, pitcher. They are in these
Yeah.
high like level, where everyone's looking at you,
Yeah.
and you do great. That's great, but you're not going to do great all the time.
Nope.
And then so you have a rough outing, that's all part of it. I think it builds character, right? Same
Builds
for
character, there
if
you
she's
go.
in the outfield, make a great catch,
Yeah.
and then maybe not on the next one. And
But it's not pitching game 1, and then game 2, and game 75,
Yeah, did they
game
pitch-
78.
Like, what is the deal with
107.
that?
well, in softball,
I never
that's-
actually asked you that.
Yeah.
What? But your daughter is a pitcher.
Yep.
she's a
Yeah.
pitcher.
Does she
yeah.
just
She
go out
plays
there
a
and
little
pitch
first
every
base.
game?
Most teams, they are trying to get the girls experience and seen. Like she was just at a showcase in Las Vegas, and I mean, she would go out there and then they would put it like she'd do the first 2 innings, and then so it's most teams they're not just riding at this level, right? She's 15 but playing 18U, and she'll be 16 in March, which is weird, by the way. I think she's gonna be 16 already, but yeah, I mean, like, but yeah, they do in college, you know, they ride that. I mean, it's almost the situation you want because that means you're really good. So eventually when you get up in the competition gets, I'm assuming in club as it gets more intense, you're going to ride more of one girl to the championship or try to.
Just,
high school and
like
college, high school, right?
And the arm, I guess, is fine. I think, too, I'm like, doesn't that hurt your shoulder? Like,
No, this is normal. This isn't.
Yeah.
The
How about
girls,
your butt and your legs and everything? It all hurts.
I just think, that's
No, don't say bull. This is normal.
it's worse.
I didn't say that it didn't hurt, but when you walk like this. You don't walk like this.
Well, that's true. That's true, too.
It's definitely worse on the pitcher's parents. They're the ones that are wearing it the most because that it doesn't get easy. When you know when you're a kid you have the worst. It's the quarterback and the pitcher.
Yeah.
Everything revolves around their center stage all the time. Nerve-wracking.
And what
Nothing
position
happens.
did you play in baseball? And you have kids that play too, right?
I was a pitcher, and but I never got nervous when I played. But as a parent, when my kids would pitch or whatever, I was a nervous wreck.
You didn't get nervous?
I mean, I didn't feel it as much. Like once you start playing, you forget about it.
Yeah.
But when my kids start playing, all I'm thinking about is how nervous I am. And when Camden switched to outfield, I got a lot less nervous because your success rate out there to catch a fly ball is a lot better than at shortstop or pitcher. But how's your? This is a tough question. Because I know raising a daughter in high school, athlete or not, is a challenge, especially for the mom. My daughter, Isabel, was amazing the first 14 years of life. And then from about 17 till 27, she's amazing. But right in the middle there.
We're approaching. We're kind of in that. So far, so good. But I mean, because I know I was a little bit of a... I went through that same thing with my parents, and I feel like so badly.
I know what she was going to say.
I mean, just like always pushing the boundary. Like, oh, you said I'm supposed to be home at 11, and then I'm coming home later. And I remember my mom would be like so upset. My dad had to get up really early, and he worked he was a mailman, and I think he was just like over here. Like he's just going to be like, I'm going to work, and I'm going to put food on the table. And it was like not easy. So, so far it's going okay, and her friends are. You know, there's not a lot of drama yet, and there's not really a lot of boy drama too much yet. Good. But I know it's all coming. Like,
gotta watch out for those Corona boys.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry.
And then, you know, like my son, he's been dating a girl who's a year older than him, and she went to Corona though. So it's like, and then you know they've been dating like 2 years, so it's like it hasn't been like too tumultuous with the dating yet. But you know, girls can be tough, as you know, right? Like it's just you know, I do know they came home for freshman year. It's like, so how big is Corona again? It's like 3,000 kids or 2,800. They're all like, you know, I'm not going to say the name because I'm not going to incriminate. I'm not sure if the demo of this podcast is sophomore girls, but
there's a lot of them.
But
Senior
we just
girls.
ran the numbers.
Just in case I won't say the name, but they all come home and they're like all around my kitchen island, and they're just like, you know, I'll just say Joey, and it's not Joey, but like. It's Joey. Oh my God! Did you see him today? I'm like, and they literally told me he's the one cute boy. Like they all have like this one boy. I'm like, there's got to be like 1,000 boys at this school. Like Joey is the only one that's cute, and they're like, I know.
Joe. Joe.
I can put this in perspective.
Not Joey, but yeah. And then now sophomore year there are a few more, but again they all like they come home from the first week of school, like we all like so-and-so. I'm like, you do understand if the one of you starts dating so-and-so, like still be friends, like it's going to be okay.
And you know, and now you know that the other 4 girls around the island were like, stop looking at him. I know what you said at my house. Like,
well, one girl is, and it's like, luckily everything's smooth. And one girl was dating the one boy that everyone was like, he's hot. But, and then I don't think they're dating now, but like it went fine. I'm like, just like, don't lose your friends over the boy, right? Is that always good advice?
Yes.
And I have
Good
to say
advice.
that Brian Reid was
usually
the Joey of 1993.
Everybody was talking about you around
Everyone
the
wanted a
kitchen
little piece of
island.
them sausage fingers. Yeah.
Yes.
Dial it in.
He was a popular guy, that's for sure.
How many times can you win Homecoming King? Am I still eligible? Am I still eligible?
Homecoming King?
Come on, Jody.
Oh, yes, he was.
It's a permanent crown.
And did you win Prom King too?
You know why I got voted? Because I was a cheerleader as well. High school cheerleader.
Baseball player, cheerleader.
Wow.
You want to know who his partner was
Dynamic.
on cheer?
Who?
Tim's wife.
Seriously, that's funny.
Yeah.
Were you like throwing her up in the air?
Yes, she was.
what
Thank
we
Did you
you.
have her
we always
hand,
do,
your
yeah.
hands on her?
That's what we always say.
And I was twirling a baton with the other hand.
Was it on fire?
That's friendship.
Was
that's
not on fire.
love,
That's
yeah.
friendship. Yeah, I mean, really, I'm at
These are the
25 years of
Sams.
therapy, and I'm almost totally
He's
fine
fine.
with all of it.
He's fine.
That's cool.
You know how
Yeah,
you get
yeah.
over all that stuff? Drink a little wine. What do you know
Yeah.
about wine, Jody?
Yeah,
Tell us
let's
a little
go.
bit about
Good
wine.
segue,
I love
Brian.
Now let's talk about the real
I
shit.
do
Booze.
love wine.
Wine and coffee.
Yes, wine
Yes.
and coffee. I said I had like a lot of little side gigs, and so I've the Texas Rangers reporter. She and I are still friends after what happened.
Okay.
I'm very happy for her, Emily
fair.
Jones.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, and I had just come back from Napa on a girls' trip, my college friends. And she's like texting me, I'm selling wine now. It's clean crafted wine. So it's like more than organic. It's actually like lab tested for chemicals. So it's like clean wine, very good wine, a lot of different varietals and all. It started with only like 8 or 9 different types of wine, and now we've matured. But I was just like, yeah, sure, I'll sell the wine with you. Yeah, it's out of actually the company. The founder, she went to law school at ASU, but she just was having headaches due to wine and drinking wine with tannins and things and like heavy sulfites, and so she decided to start Scout and Cellar. It's called Scout and Cellar. So it's just very much a side gig, but I appreciate you mentioning
Sounds like
it.
fun,
And I
yes.
like to throw parties.
There you go.
So it was
there
like,
you go.
honestly, the other part
like
that
parties.
I liked about it was, in my crazy busy schedule, because that is probably the hardest thing. You mentioned the balance is just, you want to have a little more free time and you don't want to be at a game every night. But it was like, it was a nice way to put something on the schedule. Like, okay, November 18th, I'm going to do a wine tasting, and July, whatever, I'm going to do a wine tasting. So that was
So
fun.
talk
That
about
was a
this.
nice thing.
This is going to sound like
that's
a
great.
flex because whenever you say when I was in Italy, but when I was in Italy,
That's okay. I've never
yes,
been.
thank you. There was
I've heard it's nice.
We drank so much wine, and I never got a headache, never got a hangover. And I was told that it's something that's not in that wine that is in wine that's produced here.
It can be.
Yeah,
It
or
can-
it could.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But
So,
the
and that's a
wine that
lot
you
with the
guys produce,
food
is
too.
that-
I guess they say the food over there is,
Very
it's
much
not
so.
processed
Cleaner,
and all that.
yeah.
It's kind of scary, right?
Yeah.
Or we're eating stuff that like it says it's good. Like what's today, November? It'll be like, February 10th. That's good. It's just refrigerated. Like
Sounds nice.
it's still
Maybe
good.
we should have some
That's
of her
weird.
wine. Let's see how much of it we can
Oh,
drink.
I should have
before
brought
we
you
get
guys
headaches.
some.
Before we get
Darn.
out.
Well, hold on. Look, you don't have to bring us some. Walk us through what a wine tasting event looks like. Say the name of the thing.
Scout and Cellar.
Scout
So
and Cellar.
Scout like Brian,
Like
and
a
Cellar
scout.
like
Okay.
the wine cellar.
Scout like Brian. Cellar
like-
like
that was
the
a
last
really
place Mets.
Dumb.
It's a hard
Tied it all together there.
Yeah,
It's
you like
actually
that?
Brian's company. No.
You get points around
Hey,
here.
did we
Brian
ever tell
segues
you
and
that a
digs.
psychic comedian once told Brian that he should listen to Nick more?
Is that right?
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah, you have to go back through some
Wow.
episodes.
She just pulled that out of.
He
she
yeah,
didn't
he
know
did.
about Nick.
Gay he
Oh,
said
did.
that. Yeah.
Tom told me.
Nick,
Yeah, yeah.
Nick, wow.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to come back
But
for all
real quick, back to your. So I don't without trashing every wine that you buy in the store. I mean, there's some that are good, and there's some like if you go to Napa, you go to a small batch winery, and they're like they're not adding chemicals and stuff. You're good, but yeah, a lot of the stuff on the store shelves is like. Everything has sulfites because I'll get people that come up to me, oh, this doesn't have sulfites. Well, everything has a level of it. It's just how high a level. Scout and Cellar is always low, very low. And then, but yeah, as far as Italy and Europe, I hear that a lot, and I can just imagine that maybe that's more their norm is to do clean wine. The other thing is, and why Scout and Cellar, we have a lot of great wines. I will say there's some cabs that we kind of can't really duplicate, and I have to wonder what that means is the sugar added or, different ways to produce more sugar in the wine, even if it's natural. And then even the coloring, like sometimes coloring is added, like a deep purple or they call it mega purple and stuff. And so none of that's in there. So
What?
I
So,
like that.
That's
so
what the headache's from, not the
It's
3
it.
bottles that we
Well, it
drink.
takes 3 bottles of
Yeah.
$2 Chuck
the
to
last-
get to a headache.
oh my God, remember that stuff at Trader Joe's?
Yeah, right?
the last time that Tim and Julie came over to my house to eat, I'll make dinner. He brings the wine. Like, I brought brought a couple extra bottles. I'm going to leave them here for you. You know, thanks for cooking or whatever. We drank them all. So
you
we
guys like your
we
wine.
like wine. So
That's
what
$12
does a Scout and Cellar wine tasting event look like?
And I'd be happy to throw one for you guys.
Oh.
Come
I
over,
see
bring the
Chef
wine,
Nick
bring
cooking
the.
the food.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I
That'd
might be
be
able to
awesome.
whip
Jody
something up.
Jackson.
You know, I might be able to whip
So
something
I got to
up.
ask you a question,
Yeah.
but I'll answer your question first. So what does it look like? So I have usually like a nice. I'm having one coming up for for holiday shopping. A lot of people love to send gifts, so we have like a lovely little gift set of like 6 half bottles, and so it's a variety. And then I'll have like. We have 2 Sauvignon Blancs that are really good. We have a Pinot Gris that's really good from Oregon. We have Chardonnay, which, you know, I still like Chardonnay. I guess Chardonnay's not cool anymore, but I'm old enough to.
Yeah,
I'm,
let's
and
go.
I'm just
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and I like Sauvignon Blanc too and Pinot Gris, but like
Yeah.
I'll just end up back with my little Chardonnay in the corner, you know. And I like Chardonnay. I'm not afraid to say it.
That's,
It sounds like you're afraid to say it.
Yeah, no, it sounds like you're terrified to say it,
Those
actually.
are
Sounds like an
unpopular
old-
statements.
like
things
a-
that
Unpopular opinion.
I was
Unpopular
drinking
opinions.
it when I was, I was drinking it when I was 28.
Some Woodbridge
30.
and that
I wouldn't go that far.
1.5 liter.
She might get canceled on Twitter
I
because Jody Jackson drinks
Oh my gosh, she drinks Chardonnay, and she said it was buttery.
Yeah, I like the buttery ones.
Yes, let's go. I knew
Love
it.
it.
I knew it.
I do. It pairs well with things that I like
you go.
French food and seafood, and you know maybe that's just who I am.
It's all right.
But
I like the vulnerability.
yeah,
vulnerability
yeah.
right
So I'll
now.
have that, and
It's
then
nice.
I'll
It
go
feels
down.
good.
And, you know, I'm not really featuring rosé because I feel like there's more summer right now. But I have
Yep.
Pinot Noir. We have a couple really good Pinot Noirs. We have some red blends that are great. We do have a cab that I like, and just not as many cabs based on. I think people get really used to drinking some of those that I think are. There's added sugar in there,
Yes.
and they have like the vanilla flavor. I like that too. I like that once in a while. I'll drink it at a restaurant, but then when I'm home, I'm always drinking Scholz.
So you bring all of these wines, and
Yeah,
then
the wines, and then I have the tasting cards that kind of tell you what they're all about, the notes of what they're, and you can do. I always just invite my friends mostly. I'm not
Yeah.
really branching out a whole lot. So I mean, we don't really do the games like tell me what you're tasting and what notes
Yeah.
of pear.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
this has
I got
notes
some
of citrus
blackberry
or
and some currants.
Yeah.
I tasted
Yeah.
the bottom again. Here we go. Next.
But I mean, you can do some of that stuff, or but yeah, it's just kind of like I start with the lighter one. You know, you start, and I'm pretty careful to not, you know, I don't overserve people at my wine
across the
tasting.
yeah, we're not Scout and Cellar. You're
I thought
out.
we were getting invited.
I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
maybe you guys would be out there now, but well, you know, but.
Well, Nick likes to
If
cook.
you like to have,
so I
if
think
you're
you
having
can
your
pair.
dinner and I'm bringing
Yeah.
your wine, then you could do what you
think-
want in your
yeah,
house.
I think we have a
Make that
union here.
I mean-
Yeah, that would be awesome. What would
Yeah.
you? So, what's your specialty?
I don't really have one, to be
That's a good
honest with
question.
you. No,
Nobody's
no.
ever asked him.
Well,
I mean,
you guys
wood-
eat his
wood
food, right?
fire
What is it?
Cooking.
Anything
He
that I
likes
can
to-
cook over a natural flame.
Okay.
So I like wood, I like charcoal, I like big
Nice.
chunks of mesquite. So anything that I can get like really kind of animalistic.
Yeah.
I like a lot of meat.
So you've been
too.
on the Food Network.
I've been on the Food
couple
Network
times.
4 times. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, and I've won.
And what did you cook on there? And what did you?
I mean,
was there
it's,
something featured?
Well,
or is it just
it's Guys
everything?
Grocery Games. Have you heard of the show Guys Grocery Games?
You know what? I mean, I know the diners, drive-ins, and
So the same guy, Guy Fieri.
Okay.
And it's 30 minutes, and you have, and they either give you something that you have to cook with, or they take something away in a grocery store. And when he says this is what you have to do, I want a game day bite, like you're gonna watch the Diamondbacks game or the
Yeah.
Cardinals game, and you're having your friends over. You got $20. You got to feed 4 people. You have 30 minutes. Go.
so you have to be very adaptable.
You got to be.
He's really
He's
good at
very
it.
Yeah, you got to be like.
He can make
yeah.
us
That's
something out of this.
impressive.
Yeah, you got to. Yeah,
lot of
you
wood.
got to. And I didn't like. It took me a year to get on the show after they saw my video.
Yeah.
And when they say it's 30 minutes, it's 30 minutes. And when they say you have to do this, you have to do that, or you will not win.
Wow.
So yeah, the 4 times I've won twice. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
I've won
awesome.
the show
No
twice.
pressure too.
You
Yeah.
cook French food.
I
She
could
brings
cook
the
French
food.
Yeah,
Chardonnay.
the Chardonnay.
And
Well, I
we
think-
pair nicely.
No one
together.
knows what French
But
food
what I
is.
heard was
Cream sauce. Cream sauce.
there's. I think we need small plates, 6 courses.
Ooh, to go with the
And we
different
might have to go
wines.
around the world.
Pairing
Maybe
those.
we start in France and Europe, and then round our way back. You know, once you get into those darker reds, Now you're talking. This is when I could get the wood fire going, right? Because those darker reds with a char grilled type of meat is really where you
Which
want to
one
be.
pairs with the bean burrito?
And
when we get to the Mexico version.
when we get to the Mexico version, Tim sneaks in with the margarita.
See, like when I'm
that's
having
the
some
palate
burros,
cleanser.
I like the margarita or just beer. I like beer too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just think I just like
Good.
a
We
beer
can hang
with
out
Mexican.
because
We can do
that, we like all of the above too.
I think we almost crossed everything off the list, but I have a lot of sources out there. And one of my sources
Oh
told me,
boy, something
That-
from my dark past.
your recent past, not
This
so dark.
is your life.
that you
There's something about Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
I did go to school with him.
That's why we said it.
Yeah, I used to ride
Yeah.
the shuttle with him.
Really?
The Hurricane shuttle.
Was he cool?
He was just he wasn't like
Normal.
super personality. Like he didn't get on and
Rocky.
like, oh, can you smell it? No, he wasn't like, just like a regular guy.
Where are we going, jabroni? He's like, none of that. No, never had that.
I guess like all of us, like when you're,
Yeah.
under 20 years old,
Yeah,
you're
you
not
don't-
everybody. Some
Trying
people
to figure
do
it
kind
out.
of start out like that
Yeah.
really gregarious.
Like Ray
personality,
Lewis
but-
didn't try to murder you or anything. or-
allegedly.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Acquitted. Have you ever been
That
acquitted?
escalated quickly.
Too soon, guys. Too
So
soon.
this question seems
Ray.
lame
Sorry,
now
Ray.
after all that because it wasn't anything with Dwayne the Rock Johnson. I heard that you jumped in the pool at Chase Field with the team.
I did. I was a little bit pressured to do so as they were chanting my name to go in. Jody, I know, and I'm like, first of all, wait a minute, what? But for context, they were kind of chanting. It was really mostly players, coaches, staff, whatever. And then I was like, they're like. My A2 who was with me was like, they're chanting your name. Like, because so in 2017, I actually interviewed Andrew Chafin in the pool, but I had my equipment, like I didn't really prepare for it. And so it like, I get in there and I hear, I hear like this noise in my ear. I'm like, oh God, I'm going to, number one, I might die.
You
right?
electrocute yourself.
So I'm like, let me get
I just
out of
killed
here.
Andrew Chafin.
Never fished again.
What was your producer like? Yeah, let her do it. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. We got more. There's-
Chafin, he's a free
Yeah.
agent.
Grab
he's
the
fine.
other blonde. We might need her.
Where's
Go
the
ahead.
intern?
Go ahead.
Kate was there. Kate was there. We were like, okay, she's fried, literally, not just her hair. But like, let's bring Kaden. She can do it.
Yeah, she's fine.
But
The
that was
newbie.
very
Bring in
good.
the newbie.
And that's no offense to my producers, but yeah, it's pretty dog eat dog. Like, okay, just let's go. Okay.
Let's go. Yeah.
But no, this
We
time
need a
it was
shot.
like, no, take off your IFB, and so I was like, so yeah, that was kind of, I was like, wow,
Hey.
okay, guys, thanks for the invite, I got, and I was already drenched in, it was actually appealing because I already had like the stench of, like, I like champagne, but like
yeah.
wearing it,
wearing
is-
it, yeah.
it gets old after a while, and
Not
it's
his
just
product.
like,
Yeah.
so I was like, I'll go in I'm going in.
What? So what was it after
great.
Yeah.
going to the World Series? Or
No, this was the first celebration, the clinching.
The clinching.
The
okay.
clinch.
Okay.
okay.
So we had
And
really
so then-
no idea.
Thanks,
This was
Dave.
literally like we had won the World Series,
Yeah.
right? Because we had just first time being back in a really long time, and
And what? Now you're wet,
yeah, I just got out.
and you don't get to go change your clothes in the locker
I
room.
have the video. Somebody, one of the local reporters, I think it was Mark McClune, posted it, and then I got the video from our post game show because it was live on the air with. And that's what I missed out on doing, the rest of the way is like capturing that live
yeah.
because a lot of people did record it and put it out there.
Right.
But to do the TV show live, I think would have been really cool for a lot of people at home to see that whole situation happening. And it happened in Milwaukee and it happened in Philly and it happened. Wait, no, that was it. No, Dodgers. I missed the Dodgers.
Dodgers,
Isn't
yeah.
that funny how we just
Forgot about the
gloss over
Dodgers.
It was so quick.
Yeah,
It was
fuck
so
them.
quick.
Fuck
I
them
didn't
Dodgers.
mean to,
Yeah.
but it was like it just was. It was quick. So, but yeah. So
Did they go
it was-
nuts when you jumped in, or?
Yeah, they start
Heck
splat.
yeah.
So they did it, and then because after I did it, I noticed other people like they had called in one of our pitching coaches and other people, and they would like just splash. They literally were like little kids.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it was like, and I think it was like, oh, we got that we got Jody to go in, or we got and eventually Brent Strom went in. I think it wasn't the first or even the second celebration. It might have been the third one or something, but it must have been the Dodgers, yeah. And I think they took a lot of joy in like getting us to come in our clothes and everything. So, but yeah, to answer your question, I did. I like got back out, put my stuff back on, and then I interviewed Jeff Bannister. I interviewed Evan Longoria.
Did
And
hair
I felt like
makeup
I was
come to your rescue?
No, and I was wearing like
put
the
her back
fake
together.
eyelashes. Everything was still on. I was so impressed. I'm like, this is some good glue on
Good
these
stuff.
eyelashes.
Are you just like, I was just in the pool with the Arizona, like, do you still have these moments where you're like, that just happened?
Yeah.
Or are you just like,
That seems so cool to me.
Another day at work.
yeah,
I
like,
guess it was cool, but
is
I mean, it
cool.
was cool in the moment. I didn't really think about it later. I'm trying to remember what night I went out with a bunch of people. I don't know if it was that night though, because we had to work in the morning. Yeah, we had to. I think, or maybe we did. Maybe it was that night. I'm getting all my. It was either Dodgers or. No, I think it was that first night.
Everybody went
And
out.
a bunch of people went out downtown, right near the stadium. There's I think it's called Crown. It's right near the light rail there. And I just was like watching everyone celebrate, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. Like a lot of, granted, more of the younger employees, you know, and but a few that had been there a long time, and certainly not everyone, because again, we did all have to work in the morning. I think it was a Saturday. I hope that would make sense.
Yeah.
That's what I'm remembering, because I was thinking, how are these people getting up in the morning to come here?
You're
But-
so responsible. That's what I'd be thinking. too.
Yeah.
I was
I
just,
mean,
it was so joyful. Like we had waited, you know, it was so cool to see everybody so happy. But like, yeah, I did change. I'm trying to remember I'm pretty sure I changed before going over there to the bar.
Yeah.
That would make sense,
You brought
right?
your change of
I went
clothes
home.
because you figured
Responsible.
there could be a champagne
Yeah,
party.
yeah, we were waiting on it a little bit.
I'm
yeah,
wondering,
the
like,
night
in my
before
mind, I'd
didn't
be
happen.
wondering if
so.
that's a jinx.
Is that a jinx? Yeah.
Like if
yeah.
you're packing clothes, just like I always even wonder if they have the
Yeah.
champagne on ice.
Right.
Like that's kind of
There's a lot of-
You've heard those stories, right?
Yeah. There's
Ask
a lot of
Philadelphia, right?
Yeah,
they were
exactly.
ready. They had the rules of tape and everything.
oh, no.
right?
I texted my buddy who lives in Philadelphia when I saw the TikTok of the guy spraying the poles with
greasing them up, right?
greasing
Yeah.
the poles.
So
Because
I
they
didn't
didn't want the people in Philadelphia climbing the poles.
Well, they didn't
And
have to.
I saw a TikTok of it. I immediately sent it to my friend in Philadelphia, the guy that used to work for me. And I go, you guys know that you're losing now, right?
Yeah.
You sent out a
yeah.
army of people to grease the
Do you think
poles.
Tori Lavello showed the team before? Look at this, guys. Let's go. They're greasing the poles.
This guy's normally painting the lines on the expressway. They pulled him off the job, and he's greasing the goddamn poles. Like,
Let's go.
yeah, Alec Thomas is like, bullshit. Like,
Will not stand.
Totally. I think that
We're gonna
was
let
totally.
Jody
Oh,
get
my
out of here.
goodness. That's
Jody,
Yeah,
awesome.
that brings back so much. It was so great.
Fun.
It was so amazing. Yeah.
Well, we've said this. This is a Suns town. When they're winning, like it's a Suns town. But to see the last 20 years, to see the Cardinals at their peak and the excitement that they can create when they win 2, 3, 4 games in a row, right?
Yeah.
And then to see our Diamondbacks go. I said our. I didn't mean to say that. Sorry. I like my paycheck every 2 weeks.
Arizona.
live here.
Arizona.
You grew up
here. Oh, yeah.
All right, Jody. Thank you so much. You're a legend. You're busy. You have a lot going on, and for taking the time with us, we really appreciate it.
and
you
when
for
we
having
do the
me.
wine party, we're going to talk about it on the podcast, so it's got to be really good.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So we're
I'll
gonna,
bring
yeah,
the
we're
wine. You're
booking
gonna
it.
cook.
I'll cook.
So-
You bring the
Yes.
wine. Let's
People
do
do
Expect your
that.
career just to like launch after being on this podcast.
Absolutely.
I'm hoping that
You're
I
gonna
get
make
a
it.
few
The
more
338
sidekicks
people that watch
This kid's gonna make it. I got a good feeling. Yeah.
Good feeling.
Yeah. Jody.
Jump in the pool.
Jody.
Oh, now give me just a little bit, and I don't need a lot. Open up your heart, show me what you got. Sugar taste, sweet coffee. Give me just a little bit. Give me just a little bit, and I don't need a lot. Open up your heart, show me what you got. Sugar taste.